No other gym lift compares to the barbell overhead press. It's that real primal, animalistic aggression that you've got to put into the bar. It really does feel do or die, especially towards the end of a set when you're tired, when your rep speed is slowing down, and you've really got to dig deep to overcome that sticking point. And there's just something beyond the muscle and strength that you do get from the overhead press. It is how you approach training, which is the true value. What draws me into the overhead press is that it's a challenging exercise. You're lifting heavy weights. There's a ton of systemic full body fatigue. Your nervous system's drained from pushing these heavy weights above head. There's a ton of muscle mass involved, and you've also got that axial loading going through your entire spine. Very fatiguing, but also extremely high stimulus, raw strength, raw magnitude of stress to your muscles. You're getting all these challenges, and you can't think of that as a bad thing. We can't be skipping movements that are hard, because this challenge will change you. Even if it's not optimal for any one thing, not the best for hypertrophy, then you know what? It's building that mental character that you can apply across the board, which is so cool. You go and do an isolation exercise after an overhead press and it feels like a breeze. Of course, if you wanted to target just the shoulders, you can do hundreds of reps of lateral raises, but the bro science in me just knows deep down that there's so much more value from this big compound exercise with pure progression capacity. The major advantage of sitting down is there's no cheating with the legs. By comparison to a standing overhead press, we can bend our knees and use our hips in order to push the weight off of our chest, and it skips out on the really important parts of the movement. By sitting down, your upper body muscles are forced to do all the work, especially out of that deep range of motion, which is the most valuable from a stretch perspective to increase muscle mass, but also strengthen that full range of motion, which often gets skipped when people do standing overhead press. Besides, your torso is fixed in place by having that back bench stability. By comparison to a standing overhead press, we all know when we get tired, we start to lean backwards, turning it almost into a high incline, flat bench press if we arch our back enough. With sitting, there's no cheating, there's no compromise. You're constrained in the exercise so that your upper body is doing all the work. Next question, I know you're thinking, which bench angle is best for this? Definitely not the 90-degree fully upright bench, because look what happened to me. I thought that this is the best way to do it because it makes it a pure overhead press, it's strict and whatnot, but reality is you're going to hurt yourself and it's also going to feel awkward, so not recommended, definitely not optimal. The 60 to 75 degree incline bench works best for the overhead press. It's a natural and organic pushing path. It just feels really nice on the shoulders. You can lock in, just keep pressing that. Not really that difficult from a balance type of perspective. Hits all those upper body muscles really well. What's important with the barbell overhead press is to change the technique to suit your body. This includes the bench angle to a position that's comfortable for you, changing the amount of arch so that you can comfortably press the weights overhead, experimenting with your grip width as well. Maybe you find a tucked elbow close grip more comfortable, or conversely, you find a wider grip OHP better for you and your goals. You need to choose accordingly. Even something as minor as changing the thumb position, whether you wrap around the bar or you go thumbless, this can all dictate how you feel, perform with an exercise. You're the boss of your body. Choose accordingly. To get the most from barbell overhead press, respect the range of motion, using that deep stretch at the bottom every single time, trying to get the barbell close to, if not touching your chest. This is going to give you the full stretch for hypertrophy and build strength in that ever important deep range of motion. It's going to make you a pushing beast. If you're unable to go down all the way, consider lightening your loads and focusing more on that strict depth. It's going to give you so much more long term. One of my pet peeves is when people overhead press and they're very inconsistent towards the end. They stop short range of motion, and this ego lifting doesn't really help that much in the scheme of things. If you're going to ego lift, get it all the way down here and then press all the way above your head. Improving general athleticism is a byproduct you'll get as well. Just being able to press stuff overhead is just such a basic human movement that we should strengthen for its own sake. We can't forget that the overhead press also complements your pull-up and lat pull-down strength. By working the antagonist movement and muscles, you're going to get stronger in the vertical plane of motion. The OHP also builds shoulder resiliency. We're strengthening ourselves overhead for a well-developed shoulder that is capable capable of doing whatever you want. Expect to increase your overhead flexibility and mobility by pressing overhead. There's a saying, use it or lose it. It's as simple as it gets. If you're not moving through that range and strengthening it, you're not going to be able to do it. And that's a problem many people have that skip the overhead press. Now, to increase your shoulder flexibility, you don't have to do all these dinky rehab and flexibility exercises like trap 3 raises. Why not just include everything into one exercise with the overhead press? You're going to get flexibility, you're going to get strength, and you'll get muscle mass all in one because it's progressible. If you're training in that range, you're going to get all those lower trap muscles working, the upward rotators of your scap, and you're going to be getting that thoracic extension to improve your posture and overhead range of motion. I'm a big fan of doing exercises that I'm actually going to do. I know the overhead press because I'm getting all these benefits in one. I'm going to do it legitimately and put my effort into it. If I'm using that full range, I'm going to get flexibility. If I'm using full range, I'm going to stretch my muscles to build more hypertrophy. And by training with a full range of motion, I'll also strengthen the full range of motion with an exercise that I'm hungry to do. That's the key thing. The barbell overhead press is the GOAT for maximum overload. You can lift way heavier weights when using a barbell by comparison to dumbbells. The movement path is more constrained. It tends to be more stable up and down. By comparison to dumbbells, there's more degrees of freedom, which is a pro, but also a con in this context because it reduces absolute load output. There's a greater transfer to calisthenics exercises. With a barbell, our hands are fixed. With calisthenics, our hands are fixed. Think pike push-ups, handstand push-ups. There's a greater transferability one-to-one. The truth is with the barbell overhead press is progress takes time. The longer you've been doing overhead press, the slower the gains will come and the more you'll have to fight and stay consistent in order to get them. It might take you months to add a kilo to your overhead press or months in order to add reps to your rep range. And this is just a reality. It's that struggle that makes the gains rewarding. You know how hard it was to see that improvement, how much effort that you need to put into it. This feeds that intrinsic motivation within yourself that'll get you motivated to keep on pushing. If you're still here and you want to keep learning and master calisthenics, click here to watch another video. Thanks, guys.